Okay, hello everyone. How's everybody doing out there? Um, Hi, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. What's happening? Today is going to be a super extra special episode of Why I Hate the World because we're going to be making fun of Andrew Tate, who is a complete fucking idiot, and I really can't understand how people take this guy seriously. He just has I don't know, believes the dumbest fucking shit. I see we have people watching already. Thanks for joining, guys. Let's see. Every 5 hours, BLK femicide. Oh, thank you for joining. Haven't seen you before. Ben Shapiro was just praising Andrew Tate. The support I keep seeing for this monster is really scary. Yeah, he is surprisingly popular and prolific, and that's what makes Andrew Tate insidious. It's because his social media presence is mostly due to his fans spreading his stuff around, right? And the thing is, when they talk about his fans, they're mostly very, very young people, mostly children. I'm not even kidding when I say children. I mean teenagers, people who are kids, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. And that's what makes it, in my opinion, worse than if he was just some normal, ordinary schlub that had adults and shit. You know what I mean? Like, if his fan base was compromised of mostly, or compromised of mostly adults, it wouldn't be so bad. But he's basically raising an entire generation of young kids who are going to grow up and be little misogynist assholes just like him. And that's what makes it kind of scary. And the thing is, it's he's very, very prolific in these circles. And when I say that, I mean that well, rather not he's prolific, but they are in spreading his videos and stuff around. If you go on TikTok, it's like Andrew Tate doesn't post to TikTok really, but his followers do. They're the ones that post all of his stuff constantly over and over. And even part of his business, so Andrew Tate has this sort of rip off home pickup artist sort of take home course where he steals your money and then tells you how gives you really bad advice on how you won't get women, right? If you follow his advice and shit. And part of the thing, he says, "Oh, you can make money at my fucking home, multi-level marketing scam. You can make money." And the way he does it is that he'll pay you if you spread around his affiliate links and post on social media on his behalf. So you got all these people trying to make money spreading the fucking word of Andrew Tate. And so that's also part of the reason why he's so all over the place when it comes to social media. And he, because he fucking is basically just paying people, not really paying them, ripping people off into thinking that they'll make money by spreading his shit, which it's you won't. It's multi-level marketing. You're not going to make shit. Right? It's basically fucking pickup artist Amway. You're not making no money fucking promoting Andrew Tate. But anyway, so I got a number of videos I want to start with because there's really so much to go through when it comes to this guy. He's an endless fucking well of bullshittery. You know what I mean? Just practically every fucking video. All you got to do is just throw a rock and hit an Andrew Tate video, and it'll be filled with just ridiculous fucking nonsense, right? That ridiculous fucking narcissistic bullshit that doesn't actually tell you anything and is in some respects some of the worst advice ever to actually follow. If you actually do want to get a girlfriend and a relationship and shit that lasts, it's do the exact opposite of what Andrew Tate tells you to do, because what he's basically saying only works if you're Andrew Tate. That's it. It only works if you're like a multimillionaire. Now, before we get into this, why is this guy like so much in the news now? Well, as you've all heard, I mean, we even did a stream on this. He got busted for sex trafficking and human trafficking, but basically it's sex trafficking is what he's doing. And since we made that last video, which was a few weeks ago, lots and lots of stuff has come out about the details about this. Apparently one of the women that he trafficked was an American citizen, and that's kind of what got the ball rolling on the investigation there, which is kind of bullshit because you would think that the Romanian authorities would like want to track down somebody who's doing this to their citizens, but I guess it takes an American to like be in danger before anybody cares. It's kind of fucking ridiculous, but what are you gonna do? It turns out that some audio of him came out, basically describing how he enjoyed raping a woman. So he was on, I think it was the Big Brother was the show, like a reality show in Britain there, and he got kicked off for rape accusations. And what it was is that he spread around this video of him beating a woman with a belt, which happened to be consensual, and claimed that that was why he was kicked off of the show. And that's not really why he was kicked off the show. The reason why he was really kicked off the show was because he got accused of rape. And some audio came out of him basically admitting that he fucking did it, and like, saying to the woman, like voicemails saying like, I enjoyed raping you and stuff like that, and I was just choking you a little bit, don't be a baby, shit like that. Kind of just showing that, yeah, okay, so he basically fucking raped this woman. And one thing to remember, folks, right, is that a big component when it comes to rape is control, dominating, you know what I mean? That's one of the reasons. I mean, it's not the only reason why, rape happens, but one of the reasons why is that, the man likes to feel like he's completely dominating somebody, right? Whether the victim is male or female, that can be because, let's not forget, men also get raped by other men all the time, right? So men can be victims of rape as well. So let's not forget that. And he really kind of, in these voicemails, really kind of cements that motive, that he enjoyed it, that he really likes that feeling of just being like the dominant super uber fucking ultra alpha male and shit. You know what I mean? And it's it's completely fucking disgusting. And I hope he rots in prison. So apparently he is still in prison. He's being held there for 30 days. Things are not going well for Mr. Tate in prison. He also apparently had a heart attack, which is kind of strange because you would think like, did I just like turn off my stream? Okay, good, I didn't. I was gonna say, Lewis the Hedgehog, hey, thanks for joining, man. I thought I almost, you guys can hear me, right? Okay, good. Thought my stream got cut off. Anyway, yeah, apparently he had a heart attack in prison, which I find that, hard to believe because it doesn't look like he's the kind of person who would be prone to heart attack. I mean, guy works out like fucking 20 times a day or whatever. But, there are reasons that bodybuilders in general can be prone to heart problems. One reason is because the older you get and the bulkier you are, that puts pressure on your heart the same way as being obese does. Which seems counterintuitive, right? But that's true. It's because you're carrying a lot of weight, your heart has to work harder, and even though the weight that you're carrying is muscle and not fat, that doesn't matter. Your heart still has to work harder in order to pump blood to all of that. So that's, one reason why bodybuilders, when they get older, basically the older you get, you don't want to be like super fucking buff when you get super old. Another thing is that, well, apparently Andrew Tate drinks all the time, and according to some rumors, this is just a rumor though, so, grain of salt and all that, but according to rumors, he's like a fucking alcoholic. And we know the guy smokes cigars. I mean, he even did that in the video where he, you know, outed himself when Greta Thunberg fucking owned his ass. So we know the guy smokes. We know the guy drinks. That's bad for you. That can lead to stresses on your heart. One other thing that people I don't think are considering is that steroid use can lead to heart problems. Now, there's no evidence of Andrew Tate using steroids, and I'm not claiming that he is. I'm just saying, because he is kind of a big bodybuilder looking dude, you know, the guy's not skinny, the guy's not out of shape, right? Well, one way that, athletes get heart problems is by taking steroids. And it doesn't mean that he's on them currently, or it doesn't mean you even have to take them, you know. But if at some point in the past you took steroids, it can fuck up your heart. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger took steroids. He's got had like fucking, open heart surgery and shit. Choices you make have, your decisions that you make, do they have consequences later on? So who knows? Who knows if any of those reasons, it could have just be that he just, the stress of being in prison was too much and he just fucking had a heart attack. Shit happens when you get old, folks. What are you going to do, right? So, yeah, apparently not doing very good in prison. Apparently all of his luxury cars that he was bragging to Greta Thunberg about all got seized. Good, fuck him. And they said that if he is proved guilty and goes to prison for real, then his cars will be auctioned off and the proceeds will go to the victims, which is how they should do it, and why I don't know why they don't do that shit here in the United States. If they do, then let me know, but that's how it should be, man. If you're like fucking rich and you're like caught exploiting people like this, then yeah, auction off all the shit that the guy has, give it to the victims. That's how it fucking should be. I think in the U.S. you have to like sue people to fucking get that. I mean, I know that there is court ordered like restitution and stuff, but it usually doesn't go that far in this country. In this country, it's usually just a fucking slap on the wrist. You know what I mean? And then the rich guy gets to go off to like rich person prison, like the rich guy prison where they have like a fucking salad bar and a tennis court and a masseuse that comes on Tuesdays and shit like that. Right? It's like, no, man, when you go to prison, you should go to fucking prison. You should go to like real prison with the other real prisoners and have to do all the same shit that the real prisoners do. You should have to fucking like, you know, make fucking prison hooch in the toilet, right? And like make like fucking like, top ramen burritos and all the other baloney that the prisoners actually have to do, and not, it shouldn't be segregated depending on how much money you make. Oh, you get to go to Club Fed if you're like Bernie Madoff or whatever. You get to go to this awesome prison where it's like basically just a fucking like country club for a year. I don't know. Anyway, so glad to see that he's not getting any special treatment in prison either. There was a tweet that I saw I would like to share with you guys here. Let me go ahead and open this up. And it's I have it saved in Reddit. So let me go to save, new rising, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, they changed the Reddit fucking format here. Here we go. So let me go ahead, open up my window. There we go. This is apparently a real tweet from Andrew Tate as he's in prison. Which I don't know how the fuck he's got a phone in prison. So maybe this is fake. But solitary confinement provides the perfect environment to meditate and hone my dragon fist. Once they fail to kill me, I will emerge. Perpetrators beware. Now, this could be fake, because it's Reddit, and you don't know what's real on Reddit. But if this is... I mean... This is like top fucking neckbeard shit right here. You can see from the title, when you were partying, I studied the plane. So yeah, is this really him? I think it looks like his real fucking tweet thing. I don't know. I'm too lazy to actually go to Twitter and try to track it down. So it could be fake, but I don't know. I thought that shit was funny. So let me turn that off for now. So there is a couple of things I want to show you guys here. I want to show you a couple of videos, snippets of him, which I think are really telling. And then, I have here, once we get through all the video, I have here from the Tate Bible. Because Andrew Tate wrote a book, which I find this book very, it's basically, it looks like he wrote a book just by dictating it to somebody, and then somebody else wrote it. But it's like a teenager wrote it. Like, and I'm not kidding. The grammar and everything, you know, like it's seriously, it's like someone who was in fucking 10th grade wrote it. So this is the Andrew Tate Bible. We'll read a little bit of that because there's a segment in here called 50 Things Every Man Should Do. So first we're gonna watch some videos, and then we're gonna watch 50 Things Every Man Should Do. Right. So here we go. Let's start with this one.
World level athletes with no money.
Yeah, shut up. This is only a 3-minute video, so we can get through this hopefully without me fucking dragging it off and making it like 15 minutes. Because I always have a problem, and I acknowledge this problem where I fucking talk too much during the videos. So I'm gonna try to let at least a minute of this play before I jump into it, right? But this is Andrew Tate on food when you're poor versus when you're rich. Let me just put this down into the chat for you guys, and let's listen to what the man has to say.
Athletes with no money. We invented a dish that was so bland, we called it flavor, because it was the only way you could add flavor to the dish. So it had the name flavor, but it was extremely bland. And it was white rice, frozen peas, because they're cheap, kidney beans. Kidney beans have more protein per 100 grams than minced beef. Did you know that? I found out when I was broke, walking the aisles at a grocery store, trying to find the cheapest protein money can buy. Couldn't bring myself to be a vegetarian, so I'd add a little bit of meat, minced beef. And if I was really rich, I'd have hot sauce. But that was like $2 or $3 without adding nutritional sustenance. It was just purely for taste. And I couldn't often afford that.
So yeah, something to remember, right, folks, is that this guy wasn't born rich. So, you know, he wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth, right? The way he got rich was by exploiting people. So there's people, you know, you can respect, like as in our capitalist society, we respect people, the self-made millionaire. You know what I mean? That's what our myths are all about here in the United States. That's Henry Ford and fucking, you know, John D. Rockefeller and all these other guys went out and they had nothing, and they came from the old country with nothing, and they just had an idea and a dream, and they worked hard, and now they're the captains of industry. And we are predisposed as Americans, right, into respecting that kind of wealth. We are, you know, that's what we're taught growing up in school, that, you know, they worked hard, and if you work hard, you can do it too. That's the American dream, right? And people get fooled because they think Andrew Tate is he's a perfect example. He didn't have shit, and then he fucking like turned that into like a huge empire. That's bullshit, right? He didn't work. No, Andrew Tate didn't do shit. You know, he didn't do the work, right? He exploited. Now, of course, you could say, you know, Henry Ford and John D. Rockefeller and all these other people also exploited people, which of course they did, you know. But Andrew Tate is a very blatant example of that, of how, you know, it's how basically becoming a billionaire is, you know, unethical. And you don't become a billionaire, you know, or you don't become you don't become super rich without stepping on some people on the way down. You know, you can do that in ways that benefit the people around you, right? So I'm really not one of those people. I'm not one of those people that says being a billionaire shouldn't be allowed, you know. But it is true that you do have to take some ethical side steps in order to attain wealth like that more often than not. You know, it's very very rare to meet an honest rich man. No. Right? Honest people don't become rich for a reason. You know what I mean? It's cutthroat, and because that's the you know why? Because that's the system we live in. That's what capitalism is. Capitalism is fucking cutthroat, and you got to be a cutthroat in order to fucking succeed in it. So that's why rich people tend to be assholes, right? Because it's a system created for assholes by assholes, in which assholes succeed. And Tate showed us that be the biggest asshole ever, make all the money, because that's essentially what he did. He exploited people in the worst possible fucking way. That is exploited young women, right, sexually and otherwise, right, and exploited the men who pay for those women, right, and he's open about it. He's open, 100% open. This is how I did it. You are all fools. I'm a genius for fucking taking advantage of you people, right? So let's keep that shit in mind, okay? He does not deserve to be respected as a self-made millionaire. At all, in the slightest. He should be fucking reviled, because the shit that he did should not be allowed. Moving on.
Literally, you have no idea how broke I was when I was fighting. Kickboxing does not pay. So for a good 3-year period of my life, I lived on this flavor. We'd cook it twice a week, cook on a Sunday and on a Wednesday. And we'd make these big pots of rice, green peas, kidney beans, and a bit of minced beef. That was it. And every once in a while, if my friends came over and they had more money than me, or if I went to a fight show and I was getting a paid dinner, or if I was out with, my uncle who had money, and they'd buy me a steak. Whoo! You ever had a steak for the first time in 3 months after eating nothing but flavor? You don't understand the level of happiness. Food was amazing when I was poor. What's food now? All I do is eat steaks. I walk into the restaurants and give me your most expensive steak.
All right, this is the relevant part of this video. So this is why I wanted to show this to you guys, okay? So I just want to emphasize that if you haven't been paying attention, this is the part to pay attention.
So give me your most expensive steak. And you know what's most annoying about that? I say that, and they start talking about options. Okay, well, we have the tomahawk or the ribeye. I asked for your most expensive. It's in numbers. Which number is higher? Oh, the tomahawk. Then why are you fucking talking about a ribeye? You dumb bitch. Of course, I don't say it like that. I say, ha 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 ha, I'll take the tomahawk, please, because I'm a polite man. I'll take the most expensive steak. I don't care. I don't care what cut of beef it is. It's a cow. They cut the cow this way. They cut the cow that way. I don't give a shit. I walk in the restaurant. Give me your most expensive steak. Tristan also. Give me the most expensive steak. Okay, yeah, what sides do you like? All of them. Oh, all of them? Yeah, give me all the sides. We sit there with 2 fucking $400 steaks. We have a bite of each side, a little bit of macaroni and cheese, a bit of mashed potato, a bit of green beans, 1 fry. Leave them basically all uneaten. And we walk off with our $1,000 lunch, and we don't even really appreciate it. And that's all we do every day. Food means nothing when you're rich. It's too cheap.
Do you not know about unattended?
Quiet, shut up. Food means nothing when you're rich. It's too cheap. So, I wanted to show that to you guys for this reason, okay? We walk in, we get steak every day. We don't even appreciate it. That's what he said, right? That's what the man said. Doesn't even appreciate it, right? That is the kind of quintessential tell that Andrew Tate is a child. Right? Because that's how children react to things. That's how, there's a reason, okay, I like steak also. Okay. In fact, I haven't had a steak in quite a while. Not because I can't afford it, like Andrew Tate thinks, right? But because you don't eat the shit that you love every fucking day all the time for every meal. That is what children do. So did you catch what he said there? Oh, if you like it, you'll eat it all the time and it's nothing. You'll have it every single meal. No. No. Children do that. Okay? I like Kit Kat bars. Do I eat Kit Kat bars for every fucking meal? No. All right. I like potato chips. Do I eat potato chips for breakfast? No. Okay. Like it's because and it kind of shows that it's a very immature way of just looking at you know something as simple as a meal, right? You know, the way you like if just because you like something doesn't mean you do it all the fucking time until you don't like it anymore, right? That's basically what a 3-year-old does. A 3-year-old will tell you, "Hey, what do you want for breakfast?" Then they'll say ice cream, because they want ice cream, or you'll go to the International House of Pancakes, and then they'll see the big chocolate pancake with the happy face on it. You guys know what I'm talking about? The fucking chocolate happy face pancake or whatever. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been to IHOP. Hi, Psy, Buzz. Thanks for joining, man. And they'll want that for breakfast. They'll want that big chocolate thing with ice cream and all this other crap. And it's like, here's the thing, right? Why do you only eat stuff like that occasionally, right? Because then it becomes special. And you like it when it's special. But if it's every single day, it's mundane. It has nothing to do with how much money you make. It's got nothing to do with like, oh, I'm rich, I'm going to eat steak every day. Well, what are you, fucking 3? Like, food is, once you hit a certain point, like age, food becomes like another choice, and you got to take that choice responsibly, right? When you're 15, 16, 17, I don't know about you, but when I was 16, 17, I could eat an entire fucking like 20 pack of like Taco Bell tacos. Like they used to sell them in 20 packs. I don't know if you guys know that. I could eat like an entire bag of Oreo cookies. I could eat like a whole fucking pizza and it would be nothing. And I'd be hungry later that night for dinner. I'm not even joking. I don't know about you. I mean, yeah, I'm overweight and shit. But, back then I kind of was too, but not too much. But it was nothing. It was like, okay, I could eat like fucking 2 Big Macs and like a 20-piece chicken McNuggets, and then like later still have room that night for dinner, right? I can't do shit like that anymore. I'm in my fucking 40s now. Fucking kill me. if I ate a 20-pack of chicken McNuggets, I'd be dead the next day. I just would, die of fucking a heart attack or whatever, cholesterol, shit like that. And just besides the fact that, as you get older, less food goes farther. You're less active, shit like that. Just naturally, your body is less. Your what do you fucking call that? Metabolism is slower, that kind of thing. And and it's just your tastes change. You don't want it. When you're a child, your tastes are just, it's all about pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. And that's exactly what everything Andrew Tate says and does adds up to. It's all about how can I get the most pleasure myself and deprive it from everybody else. And this is a perfect fucking example, right? That, I'm going to eat steak 3 times a day because I can afford it, and now food has no meaning. It's like, yeah, because you fucking ate the steak 3 times a day. That's why food has no meaning anymore. You ate the thing that you liked every single fucking day, just because you could, because you didn't think about it, because the way you think is how children think, because you think like a 3-year-old. It's like, not everything you fucking do should be about maximizing your own personal joy in that moment, And maybe it is because he's rich that he doesn't have to think about consequences. Maybe that's also why Andrew Tate had a heart attack, because he fucking ate steak 3 times a day, right? But maybe, maybe that is something that comes with being rich. Maybe that is something where you don't have to think about the consequences of something. When I was in high school, one of the teachers I had for social studies told this story. And I don't know if this story is true or not, because this is just, a story that a random teacher told me fucking 25 years ago or whatever. right? But this was the story. He said that he had a sister that was pitching a product and somehow was hanging out with fucking Elizabeth Taylor, right? And she said that Elizabeth Taylor met up with Burt Reynolds and they were hanging out. And Elizabeth Taylor said, "Hey, there's this really good chili restaurant in New York." And they went and got on Elizabeth Taylor's private jet and they flew to New York to have chili for lunch at this particular place. And he was saying that bowl of chili costs $50,000 or whatever because of like, the fuel, jet fuel and shit like that. Maybe that's true. I don't know if that story's true or not, right? Maybe there are people out there who are so fucking rich that they can just, I can't imagine that. Maybe it's because I'm a normal person without millions of dollars. I can't imagine getting on a plane and going to the East Coast just to get lunch. But maybe it's true. And maybe Andrew Tate has that mindset now where he's just destroyed everything that he enjoyed by overindulging. But once again, that's a very childish thing to do. You know, would you make that decision? I wouldn't. Even if I did have $1 billion, I wouldn't be like, "Hey, let's go to fucking Paris for dinner tonight." No. Even if I could, I wouldn't do that. Right? Why? Because it's like a giant pain in the ass. And then you have to like think about the consequences of that. Now I'm going to be in Paris and I got to do all this other shit. What do I have to do tomorrow? How is this going to like ruin my plans? All this other crap. You have to think about the consequences of that. Because that's how adults think. One of the maturity comes with thinking about the consequences of your actions, and that includes things, even small things like eating fucking candy every day if you want to. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And I just thought that video was very telling about Andrew Tate's mindset. You know, like he's somebody that doesn't think about like the future consequences of his actions in so much, and sort of acts like, like he does, like when you hear people who say shit like, "I do this because I can." You ever hear somebody say that? Like, "Why did you fucking break that window?" "I did it because I could." That to me is an incredibly like childish, immature thing to say. You know, why did you do something, especially when it comes to something punky and bad? Like, why did you vandalize that thing? Why'd you steal that thing? I don't know, because I felt like it. Because I could do it. That's why I did it. And I'm not talking about like, somebody said, "Oh, we climbed Mount fucking, Kilimanjaro because it was there." Like, that's not the same thing. It's more of like that sort of like, "Fuck you, what are you going to do to stop me?" kind of attitude. That seems to be what Andrew Tate is saying to me. I can eat steak every day because I can, and you can't. And it's the most like childish fucking shit. Like, okay, well, I could play with Play-Doh every fucking day if I wanted to, just wear a diaper all the time if I felt like it, but I don't. You know what I mean? I could eat fucking like, you know, fuck, I could eat like, I don't know, chocolate and Twizzlers and like cinnamon toast crunch for every fucking meal if I felt like it. But I don't, because I actually think about the consequences of my actions. I don't know. Anyway, so wanted to point that one out for you guys. I got a couple of more videos here which are ridiculous that we should get to before I go off a little more. This comes from a YouTube video by a channel called Just Pearly Things. Let me put this down in the chat for you guys. And let's turn on my window again. So we'll make this a little bit bigger. Now, I'm going to be jumping around this because this is a 3-hour video, and obviously I'm not going to sit here and watch 3 hours of fucking Andrew fucking Tate. But let's kind of jump around to a couple of points that I pulled out. First one is here at 12:50, which he explains what men really want. So, right around 12 here. Let's just start at this part. So, this is from a segment called The Problem with Men and Women Today. And Andrew Tate is going to explain to us what motivates every man in the world.
Because she can cook. That ain't what I said.
Oh, well, firstly, that's not what she said, to be fair. And secondly, I'd be with a 10 out of 10 who can cook because I'm top G. But to make the point, I think what you have to understand is what men are looking for in a relationship. So you did the street interview, and you're asking single people, probably young people, probably idiots who know they're on camera talking shit about good head, all this garbage. It's bullshit. What men are interested in life, not just in their relationship, but in their life as a whole, is status. I don't think most people understand, especially women, how competitive the male world is and how competitive it is for status. This is why men do everything they do. Men buy the faster car, not to drive any faster, because of status. It's why we want a bigger house. We don't give a shit where we live. It's because of status. It's why I want to go to the gym and get big and strong, because of status. Everything we do is about status. It's why we want the better jobs. It's why we want more money. It's why I want to be respected. So what's the number one thing we want our female to give us? Status. That's what we want. So she can give us status by being...
Okay, I want to just comment on that. Now, I get the feeling that most of my audience are male. Is that right? You guys seem like dudes to me. I don't know. If there's any women in my audience, that I'm not aware of, please let me know. I don't know about you guys, but do you really give a shit about status? Do you really care who thinks, what people actually think about you? We all do to some degree, right? But that seems to be something that you're more concerned about when you're young. When you are a kid who doesn't have anything and doesn't understand how the world actually works and thinks that respect comes from the outside, right? Is that, okay, well, if I get the big faster car, people will think I'm cool. If I make a shitload of money, people will think I'm cool. People will think I'm smart. Right? Like, no. I don't know about you, but I try to achieve in my job and make money not because I give a fuck what other people think. It's because I like having money to pay for stuff. Right? That's why I do it. I like to work out, try to eat healthy. And even though I'm not in the best shape ever, occasionally exercise and do things like not eat candy for breakfast, right? I do stuff like that so that I'll look good and feel good, and not because I give a shit what other people think if I look good or feel good. I don't give a fuck if every person on earth thinks like I'm a giant fat hairy slob. I don't care. Like, what do I care about those other people? What do they have to do? Because here's the thing about status, folks, right? You're never going to be number one, ever, right? You'll never be the best at what you do. There's always going to be somebody better, right? Even if you are the biggest, strongest fucking dude that you can, you work out every fucking day, and you take karate, and you take fucking MMA, and Jeet Kune Do, and all this other shit, there's always going to be somebody out there who can kick your ass. You'll never be the strongest guy on earth, even if you're a 17-time fucking black belt, fighting in the fucking Kumite and all this other shit, right? No. You know why? Because there's fucking 7 billion people on Earth, or however many fucking people there are. Billions and billions of people, right? You'll never be the best. Even if I sit here, I'm an artist, right? Obviously, you see me drawing. And if I sit here every fucking day and just drill and train and watch all of these fucking YouTube tutorials and all this other shit, I'll never be the best artist in the world. Okay, there will always be somebody who does it better constantly. You'll never be the best dancer. You'll never be the best programmer. You'll never be the best at anything. Okay, so what the fuck do you care about status? Now that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to achieve, but it means that the reason why you should try to achieve is for your own personal reasons. Why do the things you like to do? Do them because you like it, not because other people like it, right? Not because, do it because you make money this way. Do it because you enjoy being an artist, right? Work out because you want to look good. You want to feel good. Make money because you want to be secure, right? Not because of what other fucking people think. Okay? It's the most childish fucking... And it's like something that a child would believe when, Exactly. Like, why would you think that? Why would you think, I want the big fast car for status? Because you want other people to think that you're cool. You want other people to think that you're like the top G, like Andrew fucking Tate or whatever, right? That's what it is. It's all about, like, everything this guy says and does is like validation through other people's opinions, right? Like, every fucking thing. And it all makes sense. It all makes sense if you look at all the shit that he says, right? All the things that he does, the way that he lives his life, He's got... So this means, like, when he went to Greta Thunberg and tried to insult her and stuff and said, I've got 27 cars. He doesn't have those cars because he likes those cars. He has those cars because he thinks that it makes him look cool to other people. So that's why he doesn't give a shit about the cars, right? So that's why he didn't actually care, like, when he went to, like, that tweet to Greta Thunberg and all that. He doesn't actually give a fuck about Greta Thunberg. Why did he even make that tweet in the first place? He picked a fight with her, right? Because he thought that other people, his followers, would like that. And this will make me look cool. This will gain me respect. This will get me status. If I fucking dunk on this, 19-year-old environmentalist, right? Autistic environmentalist, because, that's what she is. And she, actually has capitalized on that, right? And which is great. She's kind of shown that you can achieve stuff despite, like, the fucking curveballs that life throws you, right? Like, he did that in order to get, like, validation, right? In order to achieve status with his friends. And I think that's part of the reason why he fucking, like, cried like such a baby when she, like, turned his head upside down in the fucking toilet and, like, flushed it on his ass. So hard. Which ultimately ended up, getting him thrown in prison. I mean, here's the thing. If Andrew Tate just would have shut the fuck up and, like, not seek outside validation, he'd be a free man today. Right? So, anyway, but let's continue on. The man's talking about status. Now he's going to talk about status in relationship to women.
Being beautiful, that's one thing she can do. But another thing she could do is if I turn up home and I come home with my boys and she says, I'll cook you all a steak. That's status. That's all my boys going, Ross, you just been out all night and she's here and she's going to cook for all of us and she'll clean up and tidy up. Boom. That's the kind of girl a man's not going to want to lose because it makes him look good.
Without
That's what
complaining.
men want. Status. Suck a dick, blah, blah, blah. Listen, dick can only be sucked in so many ways. I mean, let's be serious about this.
Have you had the Gok 3000?
No, this is actually a serious point, right? This is a very serious point because the Western world has collapsed.
All right, let's listen to a serious point.
In real time, and it's a failed society. And one of the reasons it's a failed society is because of the over-sexualization, especially of females as a whole. If a woman comes up to me and goes, I'll be the best sex you ever...
All right. Keep that in mind. What he just said, the Western world is a failed society because of the over-sexualization of women as a whole. Please remember that he made his money by over-sexualizing women. Right? He contributed to that. He made his millions of dollars by exploiting the over-sexualization of women, right? His cam girls weren't sitting there dressed up in full three-piece suits, right? Giving dissertations on fucking, the health benefits of cachava or some shit like that. No, they were stripping their clothes off for money and giving the money for him, right? So exactly the reason, see, he contributed to that supposed destruction of Western society, which Western society is not collapsing, right? It's not collapsing at all in the slightest. It's not even, no. So let's keep that in mind, but that's his very fucking important point, okay?
Ever had. I am fucking revolted. I don't want the best sex I've ever had. I want you to be pure and a virgin. You should know what sex is. Cook my fucking dinner. Shut up.
And that's another point right there. Okay, you should know what sex is. I want you to be pure and a virgin. I never understood that. I say this all the time, folks. I never got it. Why guys like this want their partners to be inexperienced. Right? Like, why? Like, it's okay for him to go and bang 50 fucking women, but, you know, his woman can only be him. You know, you should only have sex with me only ever in your life, and you should do it right away. That's the other thing, too. You know, he doesn't want to have to actually put in the time and work for that and show that he means, you know, that, you know, he loves you and all this other shit and, like, wait until marriage. He doesn't want to do any of that stuff. He wants to have sex with you immediately. But at the same time, you should never have sex with anybody else but him. I don't understand how that works. How do these guys square that fucking circle? How can a woman be super promiscuous and bang you without being super promiscuous and banging everybody else? And why is it only okay for you to cheat on, you know, because there's a segment here. I don't know if you guys can see this. There's a segment here why it says men are right to cheat, which we're going to get to in a little bit. So according to him, it's A-okay for a man to cheat on his girl and his woman, on his wife, on his girlfriend. But if she cheats on him, then the relationship is over. It's like the dumbest fucking shit. It's the kind of shit that teenagers believe. Right? And they really do, because, you know, do any of you out there have teenage children that are in grade school, or not grade school, but like junior high school and high school? Right? Especially boys who are of that teenage age. I guarantee you they know who Andrew Tate is. Right? If you were to go to your 15-year-old son and, like, ask him, I guarantee you he's at least heard of Andrew Tate. Because this dude is all over fucking TikTok. He's like, you know, like, apparently for a few months he was like the #1 Google ranked search for like an individual person for like a month and a half or some shit back in like 2019, right? So the guy is not an unknown. He's not just some rando out on the internet. His fucking, like, followers are, like, out there and promoting this motherfucker, like, a lot, to small children, to, like, teenagers who don't know any better, right? And because they're the most vulnerable. Adults don't fall for shit like this. If you've, like, you know, had a few relationships and you've been around the block or whatever, and, you know the basic fucking, like, human interactions with another person, like, if you know how those work, you're not going to fall for some random fucking dickhead telling you that, you know, it's all about status and all, you know, fuck off, right? It's to that vulnerable population of sort of male incel types, guys who have, like, either had trouble with the opposite sex, you know, for whatever reason. Maybe they're fat, maybe they're ugly, whatever. Maybe they're short. You know, height does have a lot to do with it, as much as we all like to try to say that's not a thing. It is a thing. Being tall is you know, something that women are attracted to. It just is, right? What are you going to do? Right? But, you know, so that happens. You know, there are men who are just, you know, dealt a fucking crappy, you know, deck of cards or whatever hand in the fucking poker game of life or whatever, and you got to work with what you got. And you're not all going to be super mega fucking porn star type guys who just get laid every 5 seconds. And there are guys out there who are like that, who can, you know, through one way or another, without being super manipulative, just happen to, like, you know, they're just good looking and confident and all this other shit, have a lot going for them, and they generally attract women. And that's definitely a thing. I don't think Andrew Tate is one of those. Andrew Tate has to use trickery and lies, you know, which also I don't understand that either, because the thing is, the guy has lots of positive, I mean, he's not ugly. You know, he's tall, he's fucking buff, he's rich. Why does he have to like lie to women in order to get them to like sleep with him? Right? Why does he have to use trickery and deception and like fucking scam women into doing shit for him? You know what I mean? And it kind of goes to show that it's not just what you look like. You know, it's like there'll be plenty of women who would just fuck him because he's rich. And, you know, what's the problem? It's like, no, he doesn't, you know, but no, he has to like fucking manipulate them and get them to get tattoos of his name and shit. That's another thing. I don't know if you guys heard about that. Like, the women that he trafficked and basically fucking scammed into working for him. Like, he would force them to get tattoos of his name saying, like, owned by Tate or whatever. Another thing is that they weren't allowed to leave the house. You know, the ones that were working for him and living with him, like, basically just had to fuck him on command. Like, whenever he showed up, like, they had to have sex with him. And if they tried to, like, leave the house to go shopping or something, like, somebody had to go with them. Like, basically, the guy was fucking running a cult. You know, not all cults are religious. You know what I mean? Like, those are, like, basically, those are, like, fucking signs of, like, a religious cult, except it's not religious. You know? Like I just said, not all cults are religious. So, that kind of self-control, like, I mean, not self-control, but, like, you know, the way that they control you, kind of, like, that lack of self-control that they afford you, like, very, very cultish. Same kind of thing. Why has he got to do shit like that? How come he can't just use his normal, ordinary, natural attributes and get women the right way? You know? I mean, because he's not interested in that. Number one, he's interested in exploiting women because he likes it. You know, he likes what he does, this guy. He likes fucking, you know, being an asshole and having like 17 women and degrading them and shit like that. You know, it's all sort of power. It's all about power. The same reason why he would say to somebody on a fucking phone call, I enjoyed raping you. It's all about having power over someone. So, in that respect, he is very similar to a cult leader. You know, like a religious cult leader, a Jim Jones type. You know, because that's something they all do too. I mean, every time you see, you know, and it doesn't matter if it's like a religious cult. It doesn't matter if it's the Moonies or if it's fucking the Branch Davidians, you know, David Koresh, whatever. One component of those types of religious cults is always some kind of weird sexual shit where the leader gets to have sex with everybody's wives or whatever and girlfriends. That's something that happens in every single one of them, right? So, anyway. There's another, let's see. Oh, we're at 12 o'clock already? Fuck. Time flies. All right, well, I want to watch one more little segment, and then we will read some comments here. So at 21:30, he once again talks about, it's right about here, 21:30. This is why it's okay for men to cheat on women, but not okay for women to cheat on men.
It only talks about that. The regular women that are on here.
The women that come on the show.
Oh, good thing I'm irregular and extraordinaire.
But do you not think it's because we're not holding men accountable? So when a man, because he's a top G, cheats on a woman, it's like, well, what do you expect? When you should actually turn around to
Accountable
him and say,
for what? Accountable for his natural evolutionary biology.
Is cheating morally correct?
Yes.
Depends.
Yeah.
It's his natural evolutionary biology to cheat. See, folks? See, folks, it's got nothing to do with respect or acting like an adult or love. It's your biology to cheat. So, sorry, honey, I went out and had sex with 17 different women. It's my natural biology. You know, I can't, this is evolution. I can't deny it. It's just in my nature. That's who I am. Sorry, just in my nature to just bang as many women as I see. But you better not do it, because, you know, that's against your biological nature. Which is bullshit, by the way. I don't know. One thing they found, like, for example, bonobos. You know, bonobos are sort of like chimps, like a subspecies of a chimpanzee. Is that they're very sexually liberated. These are animals that share 98% of our DNA. They had a common ancestor with human beings. We're not directly descended from chimps, but there was a common ancestor between both of us. So at some point in the past, the human primates diverged from chimps, or diverged from this common ancestor, and then that went on to create both humans and chimps, right? And in bonobos, the way it works is that the female bonobos are highly, highly promiscuous. And they use sex for lots of different things in relationships, and including getting food from male bonobos, and also as a way of making up when two of them fight. Then the female will come over and have sex with the male in order to make up for fighting earlier. That's another thing that they've observed in bonobo behavior, right? And also, it seems like there are, unlike other primates where usually there's just one big alpha primate, like, say, the chief gorilla. Like in gorillas, it's like there's just like the head fucking male silverback or whatever that has sex with all the female gorillas. In bonobo society, which is more closely related to human beings, it's complete opposite of that. The female bonobos have sex with as many males as possible. And there are some theories as to why the shape of the human penis is shaped the way it is, like a phallic, that sort of phallic mushroom-headed shape. The theory is that, well, it's shaped like that so that when you have sex with a woman, right, the penis will naturally scoop out the semen of somebody who had sex with her before. All of this points to, now these are just theories, and there's no way of actually proving any of this shit. But all of this points to the idea that our biology lends to women having sex with as many men as possible in order to procure a child, to get pregnant, right? It is in the female biological drive to get pregnant, to have as much sex as possible, the same way that it is within the male biological drive to impregnate as many women as possible. That's what the theory lends to. Now, however much you take credence with that, or whether we should pattern our lives around such theories, is debatable. I personally think that's all something that people just sort of use as excuses, Because, you know why? Because you are a thinking, sentient person, and you should be able to control your biological urge to stick your penis inside of every woman that walks around. You should be able to control that, right? Especially as you grow up and mature, and sex becomes something that is not on your mind 24/7. And once again, it is a very, very adolescent view of sex and relationships. And I say that because that's how I thought when I was an adolescent. I don't know about you guys, but when I was 17, when I was 18 especially, that was the only thing I ever thought about, was getting laid and how am I going to get laid. That's why? Because you're 18 and you got the hormones and shit. And it's going absolutely crazy. The fucking wind blows the wrong way, you get a boner. That's what happens with young 18-year-old men. And when you're 18, you can like get it up like 6 times a day. Like, you could have sex all fucking day and it doesn't, you got the stamina and stuff. I can't do that now. I'll die. It'll kill me, and this is another thing. As you get older, this shit becomes less important. It becomes more about relationships, become more about companionship, less about biological drives. It's the way that he's looking at this shit is like, that's the way fucking teenagers think. I don't know, maybe Andrew Tate is, he's what, 37 or something like that? maybe he's still young enough to where, maybe he's like taking fucking testosterone pills or some shit and his sex drive is like really super crazy high. Maybe that's it. People age at different rates. Maybe he just has naturally more of a higher sex drive than most people his age do, something like that. But I think, once again, it all comes down to attitude. And he has the attitude of a fucking 15-year-old boy. When it comes to all of this shit. It's like, I don't know, your natural biological fucking reason, that's an excuse. That's what you say when your girlfriend catches you cheating. It's my biological drive. I can't deny my... Get the fuck out of here. It's not your biological fucking drive, you fucking idiot. Right? Cheating because you're a fucking cheating asshole who doesn't respect your woman. That's why. If you actually loved and respected your partner, and your partner... because there are such things as non-monogamous relationships. And if you guys have decided that you're going to be in a monogamous relationship, then that goes both ways. If you guys made that agreement that, the agreement was me and you and that's it, right? Then if you don't fucking follow that agreement, then why? Because you don't respect your woman. That's why. And that's what it comes down to. And everything that these guys say, it's all excuses. All this shit that like all these red pill assholes say about how like, high value men and women, and it's wrong but it's good for a man to have lots of sex because that means it's difficult. All of that shit. It's all excuses for this. This is the actual fact, is that they just don't respect their partner because they think like children. But he's got a little bit more to say here, so let's continue on.
Yes.
How
So
can you say that? Are you
you're
joking?
okay with your woman cheating on you then?
Absolutely not. That's haram.
No, because
Oh, it's a wrap when she cheats on you, but you can cheat on her.
There is
Yep. Let's see what he says.
not been in the history of humanity, across any culture, any book, any story, any fable, there has never been across the history of humanity any respect put on the name of a promiscuous female ever. Ever. You name the biggest conquerors that you can possibly name from history. Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, all of them. They all had 100 wives, bunch of children, big G, conquered the world. Normal. That is normal evolutionary biology. That's how men are designed to be. There's
Fucking stupid as fuck. But what I'm not hearing is why. Why is it not okay for a woman to do the same thing, right? You know Queen Elizabeth, right? During the Elizabethan era, 16th century, whatever, in England, was called the Virgin Queen because she never married, right? And it was scandalous because she like took a couple of lovers, but she never actually married, right? And it's like, well, why? Even a woman like that, who is like the empress of fucking, the British Empire and shit. I mean, I know it was like, this is like 1685 or whatever, so I'm not sure how much of an empire there was, but even somebody like that was still lauded for her purity and virginity, right? In the meantime, Henry VIII, I think it was Henry VIII, had like this fucking sex chair. Let me see. Let's see. Henry VIII sex chair. I don't want to show this to you guys because I'm afraid of what's going to come up when I Google this. But yeah, even it was King Edward. King of England, that's what it is. It was King Edward VII's sex chair. All right, I want to show this to you guys. See if I can find like if I can find an image of this that is not, here we go, Daily Mail. Valentine's gift fit for a Playboy. Block. Just show me the goddamn chair. Here we go. Okay, this is King Edward's fucking fuck chair. Right? That he had. Let me make that bigger so you guys can see that. Look at that. All right. Look at this thing, and I'm not going to show it because there's actual illustrations on how this chair is used that you can find very easily if you just Google King Edward VIII's sex chair. So this is what the kings of England are fucking doing. They're building furniture that allows them to bang multiple women at once. Let's get rid of this fucking thing, right? Oh, we got to make this smaller again. Hang on a second, guys. We gotta make that small again. Right. Whereas the Queen of England is like saving herself for the royal marriage, all this other shit, and she's the Virgin Queen. She's never married, all this other crap. So, no, it's got nothing to do with status. All right. It's got nothing to do with fucking status or how rich you are or what you conquer, like this fucking moron says. Right? It's all culture. Our culture says, our culture, Judeo-Christian Islamic culture. I include Islamic in there because, it's true, and also Andrew Tate is a Muslim. But yeah, our fucking Abrahamic culture, Abrahamic religions, basically, say that women have to be virgins, and that's why we like it, and it's something that's been embedded in our culture forever. All right, it's got nothing to fucking do with your fucking status. It's got nothing to do with your biological urge. Stupidest shit ever. But he's got more to say. Let's continue.
There's never been a single female who's been celebrated for her promiscuity ever in history. It's always been frowned upon and disgusting. So yes, we are completely and utterly different. Yes, it's different if a woman cheats on a man. And if a man is at a complete top level of his life and ticks every single box, and if he decides to be loyal, which some do, and I can be loyal, and I have been loyal, but there's also times in my life where I think, fuck it, I don't want to be, and get a new girlfriend every single day of the week. I can do that, and I can decide to do that. If a woman decides to do the same, purely because her value is high enough to attract so many males, because she's beautiful, for example, it is completely different. And I'm going to explain to you why it's completely different, so buckle up. It's different. It's different.
Yeah, let's hear why is it fucking different. Right? Because so far it's just all been excuses. And this is history, blah, blah, blah. That has nothing to do. Like, tell us, all right, cut. And so that's another thing Andrew Tate does. Like, he does the same thing that Ben Shapiro does, where they just talk and talk and talk, and they sound very confident and all that. He's not as good at it as Ben Shapiro is, because Andrew Tate has this weird ass fucking accent that makes him sound like a goof, like, because he's like part British, part American. So it's like, dude, choose a fucking accent. Like, which one are you gonna choose? Choose a British, choose an American accent. This current one that you have that's sort of like half, it sound like a fucking idiot. Anyway, he's not as good at it as Ben Shapiro. He's not as good as the Gish Gallop. That's what it is. That sort of Gish Gallop attack, where you just say all this stupid bullshit rapid fire, and you don't give people time to sit and examine it. Right? That's basically what he does. And then so people think that he's like, oh, this guy must be smart. It's like, no, he's not smart. It's a specific way of speaking in order to give the impression that you know what you're talking about when you really don't. Anyway, but yeah, please explain to us why is it, the reason why.
It's different. Well, I'll tell you why. It is impossible for a female to be promiscuous on a long enough period of time without devaluing herself, because she is fucking people she shouldn't be fucking. There's no way she is sleeping with endless men, and all of them are either high-value men or treating her the way she should be treated. If you find a woman who slept with 50, 100 dudes, she's either fucking dudes which aren't at her level or haven't worked hard enough to try and get the pussy. She was just too drunk to realize he's a loser who plays video games. Or she's fucking a top G who barely texts her back. So either way, she's fucking dudes she shouldn't be fucking, or a guy who's at the level who doesn't give her the right amount of attention. For a woman to find a guy who's truly on a level, who truly treats her the way she should be treated, that's once every couple years, if...
Okay. Why? What does that have to do with it? Okay, so a woman who's promiscuous is screwing guys she shouldn't be screwing. She's fucking guys she shouldn't be fucking, right? So nobody says this when men do that. I mean, if you're a man and you're banging 100 women, all of them are not going to be top shelf. I kind of hate it when these assholes use this number system to grade women. Right? And the thing is, it's I know where it comes from. It was even around, but it's another thing that kids do. She's a 10. There's actually a movie called 10 with fucking Bo Derek. She's a 10, she's top shelf, right? Kind of thing. Like women are fucking liquor bottles or something. She's top shelf liquor, you know. But it's not like if you're a guy and you bang 100 women, every single one of them are not going to be supermodels. They're not all going to be 10s, right? They're not all going to be, no. It's like you'll probably never meet that many in your entire life. And it doesn't matter how rich you are, it doesn't matter how good looking you are, you're not going to get, 100 supermodels to have sex with you. Like, it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, so why is it okay for a man to lower his standards, which he obviously fucking is, unless you're like a porn star or something, unless you're getting paid, why is it okay for a man to lower his standards, but not a woman, right? And what's this other thing, like a man who will treat you right? Well, part of treating someone right is respecting them and not cheating on them. Because cheating on your partner is about respect. It's about, it's about love and respect. If you love and respect your partner, then you will not do shit that is out of bounds for the relationship, whether that's cheating or otherwise, right? That's really the only reason why you don't do it. Why is it wrong? Why is cheating wrong? Because it's disrespectful to the partner that's being cheated on, right? So, you don't do it. If you respect your wife or your husband, then you don't do it. Right. And it has nothing to do with your biological fucking urge. Okay? The most beautiful woman in the world could come up to me tomorrow. And, like, I would turn her down because I don't care anymore. Because I'm in a marriage that I love with a woman that I love and respect. Right? And it has nothing to do with, like, I'm not afraid of, like, this is another thing that these incel guys will tell you. The pickup artist red pillar types, they'll tell you another thing. Oh, well, you're afraid of getting half of your shit taken away. You don't do it because your wife will divorce you and you're a cuck. It's like, first off, if I had enough, like, if I had enough assets to where that was something I'd be worried about, then I would have got a prenup before I got married. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting a prenup. If you're rich, if you actually are somebody who has a shitload of money and you're afraid of losing it, then that's what comes with a marriage. You go, yeah, well, when we get married, this is how we're going to divide it, right? And if your partner, and this is whether you're a man or a woman, if your partner doesn't like that, then that's not the partner for you. That's just like, and that's just how it goes. Especially if you're like a millionaire and shit, if you actually have stuff that's worth protecting and you're afraid of that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And anybody that you should decide to spend the rest of your life with should understand that, because when you hit that sort of point, marriages become like business decisions and shit, right? Absolutely nothing wrong with that in the first place. So I don't have anything that, I'm gonna lose. Like, I guess you could take like my action figure collection or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and all of the other shit is like, they talk about alimony and child support. Yeah, you should pay alimony. You should pay child support. There's reasons why alimony and child support are a thing, and I support those things. If you have children, and the children live with their mother, then those children are still your responsibility. You should be paying for it. If your wife, if your wife leaves you and has absolutely fucking nothing because, like, she was like a stay-at-home mom and shit for fucking 20 years, then you should have to pay for her, her well-being, at least for a little while. I mean, I don't know what it's like in England or whatever, but in the United States, alimony is not permanent. It's only for a few years, right? And then eventually you stop paying because that's how it works. That's how it works. Child support is until the child is 18. That's how it should be. Yeah, it should be. It shouldn't be. Because you know why? You know why there is such thing as alimony? Because women would stay home and work and work at cleaning and cooking and shit like that and taking care of the kids. And their husbands would beat the shit out of them, and they couldn't leave because if they left, then that would mean that they would have absolutely nothing because they weren't allowed to work. They weren't allowed to fucking get bank accounts and shit like that. They weren't allowed. They couldn't even support themselves if they had to, if they could. They weren't allowed to rent. Nobody would rent a room or an apartment to a single woman by herself. Nobody would give her a loan so she could buy a car. I mean, there was even a point where women weren't allowed to fucking get driver's licenses or even vote. I mean, if you go back far enough, right? So that's what alimony is for. Alimony is so that, that if you can't trap somebody in a loveless fucking abusive relationship by the fact that they won't have anything if they try to leave you, and now it's not permanent. Now it's not something you don't pay alimony for the rest of your fucking life. You pay it for a certain amount of time determined by the court, and that's enough time for the woman or, alimony can also be paid to men, although that usually doesn't happen, but it has been known to happen, if a super rich woman marries a guy and then fucking they get divorced, he gets a little bit of it too, that is a thing that happens. So it's not solely although it's most commonly the man pays the woman alimony, and then it's not permanent, and then it ends after a few years, and that's the time that it's like, okay, well, now you should have got a job, you should have got a place, so it's like, no, that's the financial hardship that all these red pillar types they'll try to tell you yeah, women will trap you, all this other shit. No, it's bullshit. It's absolute fucking bullshit. Okay. Anyway, so there is no reason. Is he gonna actually explain the reason why? Because so far I haven't actually heard why is it not okay for a woman to sleep around but a man not to. Let's rewind it about, where are we at here? Let's rewind it about 10 seconds and then 20 seconds and then we'll continue. Okay.
Should be treated. If you find a woman who slept with 50, 100 dudes, she's either fucking dudes which aren't at her level or haven't worked hard enough to try and get the pussy. She was just too drunk to realize he's a loser who plays video games. Or she's fucking a top G who barely texts her back. So either way, she's fucking dudes she shouldn't be fucking, or a guy who's at the level who doesn't give her the right amount of attention. For a woman to find a guy who's truly on a level, who truly treats her the way she should be treated, that's once every couple years, if that. You ain't just gonna go out there fucking a new dude every week and say, yeah, he's worth pussy. Yeah, he treats me good enough to get my pussy. Da da da. And you know what's funny about the universe? It's actually beautiful about the universe because it's equal and opposite forces. When you devalue yourself, it's kind of like men can smell it on you. They can just look at a bitch and go, oh. And that's the way it works. So you have to be very careful as a female and sit and go, does this man truly deserve to fuck me? And if you think about it, the answer 99% of the time, especially if you're promiscuous, is no. So when a woman is sleeping around with all these men, she's devaluing.
Okay. Have not heard the explanation why. Tell me why. Why is it okay for men to do it and not women? He's avoiding the question. All right? Because it devalues the woman. That's bullshit. That's bullshit, dumbass fucking excuse. That's an excuse. Why does it devalue the woman and not the man? Complete fucking total horseshit. It should devalue men the same way, right? Because if men are doing the same thing, if you bang 100 women, not all of them are going to be the top shelf women, the number 10s, the fucking, all of that stuff, right? So how come it devalues her, but it doesn't devalue you, right? Maybe because it's fucking horseshit. Let's let him go on a little bit longer here.
Devaluing herself. She's devaluing herself, and the world knows, God knows, the universe knows. When a man does it, he doesn't devalue himself at all. That's
Why?
just the way it works.
Can I ask you a question? Wait.
Why? When a man doesn't, he doesn't devalue himself at all. Why? You see what I'm talking about here? The guy spoke there for a minute and a half straight said a bunch of fucking stupid bullshit, didn't answer the question, and then this lady over here, the lady on the left in the red shirt, is like clapping like he said something profound. He didn't say something profound. He fucking like gish galloped and avoided the question. Why? That's what they said. Why is it okay for a man to do it, not a woman? Right? He said a woman devalues herself, a man doesn't. Why? Explain this to me, please. Nobody can fucking explain this. Every single, like, red pill, like, fucking incel moron that I've ever spoken to, when I ask them this question, they give me some stupid bullshit that doesn't make any sense. None of them can sufficiently answer this question, right? Because they don't have an answer to it. Because the real answer is because this is how we like it. That's the real answer, right? That's the real fucking reason why that these guys don't like it, is because they're fucking insecure, right? And they can't stand the fact that their woman, their girlfriend, their wife, whatever, has the audacity to have like gone out and enjoyed sex with somebody else before them, because they can't stand the idea of their woman actually enjoying sex, right? Because it makes them feel powerless. How many times have you heard guys saying some shit like, oh, when I found out my, like, if you ever go on these incel, because sometimes I lurk on like incel subreddits and shit like that in order to sort of like see what these guys are saying. One thing that they always say when it comes down to the end count, that's what they call it, like it's a fucking, like it's an attribute in an RPG or something. This is my end count. That's how they talk about how many men or women that you've had sex with, right? One thing that they always fucking say about all this is when I found, I met this perfect woman and she was great and all this other stuff, and I found out she had an end count of 25. And then I couldn't fucking stand her anymore, and I called her a roasty bitch or whatever, right? Why? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, because they can't, the only reason that it makes sense is because they can't stand the idea that other men have like other men have also had sex with this woman before. And you'll hear that a lot. They'll say shit like, I couldn't stand the fact, kept imagining 25 other guys. Well, why? Because you're insecure. And that's what it all comes down. It comes down to the fact that these men are insecure. He's insecure that this woman might care about somebody else more than him, right? And it ultimately means that it's because she, like, cares about something besides him, that he's not the most important fucking thing in the world. That's what it really comes down to, right? It really comes down to, I want to be the most important fucking thing in the world, and I want everybody to kiss my ass all the time, because he's a giant fucking child. That's how children think. You ever, like, babysit a 3-year-old? They're like agents of chaos, right? They run around, they fucking cause, like, noisy shit like that. And one thing that they all have in common is that they only think about themselves, because they haven't learned yet to be considerate of other people or their feelings, right? Or their wants and desires. That's why your 3-year-old is super loud when you're trying to be quiet, jumping on top of you when you're trying to sleep, shit like that, because they don't know any better. They don't know any better because they're only 3. And it's like, well, you can't blame them. They're only 3 years old. They'll learn it eventually, and part of what you have to do is teach them to, no, that's wrong. No, don't do that. Wash your hands first, blah, blah, blah. Please be quiet when I'm working, shit like that. You teach them to be considerate, right? That's the mindset of Andrew Tate and his followers. They're like 3-year-olds. Everything is about them. It's about them and their status, their bullshit fucking status. Everything when it comes to all the shit that they do, all the, this is why we make money, this is why we drive the fast cars, this is why I eat steak every day just because I can, This is why, like, and it comes down to his woman, his girlfriend, his wife is just an extension of status, right? So it's higher status to have 16 girlfriends, and it's low status to have a girl that has been around the block a lot. You know, it's the most immature, fucking childish bullshit ever. It's like, this is what teenagers think. You know, this is what I thought when I was a teenager, when I was 17. You know, you don't want to sleep with that fucking, you know, the school, like, you know, every school has a girl that, like, sleeps around or whatever. You don't want to get with that. Why? Because she's a whore or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. You know. But you don't say the same thing when you try to engage in the exact same behavior when you're 17. When you try to bang everything that moves, you engage in that whore-like behavior as well. It's a double standard that it's very deeply ingrained in our culture. It's not, you know, this is not just Andrew Tate that's saying this. This is fucking something that is in the culture of Abrahamic society, I guess is a good way to say it. You know, it's not just Judeo-Christian, really, because, I mean, it's also other cultures, too, who are not even Judeo-Christians, you know, Buddhists and shit. Like, you know, places in the Far East, they kind of share the same shit, you know. It's like, although, I mean, I can't really speak to, like, those cultures because I've never lived in them, but apparently they kind of share the same sort of basic tenets, right? But it's got nothing to do with evolutionary biology. It's got nothing to do. It's all about the culture of, like, ultimately culture of fucking patriarchy and toxic masculinity. If you really want to get into it, you know. Personally, I think it's kind of a waste of time to sort of, like, examine this stuff through the lens of feminism because, you know, I mean, it's true, number one, but you'll never change anybody's mind by doing that. First off, these are highly virulent anti-feminists who even will not click on the video title if you try to put that in there. You know, if you were to actually get, like, somebody using feminist theory to, like, talk about Andrew Tate, they're not even, that's like a non-starter. If you want to change hearts and minds, you have to kind of sneak this shit. You have to sneak this kind of thing by them. You have to make them click on the video by accident. You know, so anyway. Let's read some comments here because it's 12. God, it's 12:30. Time flies, man. I had, like, more video here that I want to get to, but let's read a few comments. We got lots of comments. Raph, hey, how you doing, man? Nice to see you. A lot of viewers today. Okay, let's see. What do we got? Let's see. Lewis a Hedgehog. When you get older, your mind shifts from a materialistic mindset to a utilitarian one. Yeah, that's for sure. I've seen that in myself as well. It's less about owning stuff and more about quality of life. I do agree with that. I do like to own lots of stuff, though. God damn, I'm cold in the hand. I gotta put my coat on. I do like to own lots of stuff, though. You know. This is why I can never be, like, one of those guys that live in a fucking van life kind of thing. Like I think YouTube thinks that I'm homeless because I've been watching these van life videos, you know? And it's all about minimalism. And it's kind of cool, you know, people like, oh, I have my little van and, you know, I do odd jobs for a living and I live rent-free and I get to travel the country and all that other crap. You know, it's very cool and all that, but I can never do that because I like having things. Sorry. I like my 50-inch, 55, 60-inch fucking flat screen TV and the computer, and I like having action figures and video games and books and crap like that. And furniture. I like having furniture that I can lay down on and a shower that I can stand up in and a toilet that doesn't use fucking sawdust, so... Sorry, I'll never be I'll never be a van life guy for that reason. I mean, yeah, I guess there is something to say about minimalism and not having a lot of junk weighing you down and all that other crap and just, you know. But at the same time, it's like, I can understand that. Like, say, even if I was rich, Even if I had $1 billion, I wouldn't do something like buy a gold-plated toilet or something just because I could. Like, it's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't. It's like, yeah, I would keep. Okay, if my toilet broke, I'd just fix it. I wouldn't get a brand new one. If my car broke, I'd just fix it. I wouldn't buy a Ferrari just because I could buy a Ferrari. Like, I might buy like one really nice car to drive around in, but I wouldn't like instantly sell all of my shit because it's old, broken, poor people stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know. Let's see. Hive Psy. Doing dishes but listening, my dude. Oh, thank you. You're a trans woman. Oh, really? Well, see, that's the thing. Like, so you probably have a unique perspective when it comes to this kind of stuff because you've experienced both sides of the coin, right? A lot of like this is why I kind of try to avoid like subjects when it comes to like gender, the lived gender experience because I don't know what I'm talking about. So I try not to talk. Like I notice a lot of YouTube creators will talk about things like like I guess like representation in media and all that kind of thing, and I can't really like I don't really talk about those types of things, but I do talk about discrimination because I can understand that. I can understand discrimination. So especially when it happens towards trans people, it's very, I do talk about those subjects, but I can't speak to the lived experience. So like somebody, like a trans woman would have a unique perspective when it comes to misogyny, for example, having been on both sides of that coin. Right? Like, what it's like. The mindset of someone who engages in misogyny and then also someone who is a victim of misogyny at the same time. And I think that's a very unique thing that I'd like to actually hear about that. Like, if anybody out there can point me to some videos of the trans perspective when it comes to things like Andrew Tate, I would be very interested in seeing them. The perspective of trans people, trans men and trans women when it comes to these sort of red pillar assholes, I think would make a really good series. So unfortunately, I'm a cis male, so I can't. I'm not the one to make that series. But what do we got here? 5 hours. I can't with Pearl Davis. Oh, that's the video we're watching here. Yeah. Adversary Fandon. Hey, thanks for joining, man. I just like to have fun and be financially stable. The fact that he feels threatened by a teen girl is hilarious. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like we're talking about just status. Like it's I can't. I don't know. That's the most immature shit that I could possibly think of, and that's why I wanted to point it out here, because all of the crap that this guy does makes sense if you view it through that framing, right? Like, because like I was saying, why would he do the shit that he like? Why would he use like what he was doing was like he was making like doing that love scam, that like Romeo Loverboy scam, in order to like basically fucking trick women into becoming like, cam models for him and then taking the money. Like, why would you have to go that route, right? Because you don't have to go that route. If you want to run a cam business, you can do it legit. And there are millions of women out there who are willing to get naked on screen for money. I mean, there just are. We wouldn't have things like OnlyFans if there weren't women willing to do sex work, right? So I'm giving my hand a break here. I know I should be drawing right now, but my hand kind of hurts, so let's just sort of zoom out a little bit, because I'm going to give myself a 5-minute break. So why go through the scamming route? Why go through the fucking like Loverboy route where you have to like bullshit them into thinking that you're going to get married and you can live with me in my mansion, and then once like, because this is what this guy was doing, he would like message girls, some as young as 16, which 16 is the age of consent in Romania, but still fucking creepy. because 16, they're children, for fuck's sake. He's a fucking pedophile, right? But anyway, so he would message these super young women and romance them and say, yeah, you're going to live with me and I'm going to pay all your bills and I'm going to give you all this money and all this other stuff and we're going to eat fucking awesome all day. I'm going to buy you all these clothes and all this other shit and it's going to be great and it's going to be me and you and all this other stuff. And then the woman goes there and then she finds out that 8 other girls live in the house and they're basically Andrew Tate's fucking sex slaves and she can't leave. And one thing he would do is take away their passports, right? So they can't leave and then they're not allowed to go outside without fucking a chaperone and all this other shit. And then he would basically they would have to give him sex on command, and if they didn't do it, he'd rape them and shit. Why do all of that when you could just put up an advertisement hiring models for adult film, jobs, and girls will come to you, right? And you would, why? Because the difference is because you would have to respect them if you're as employees, if you're going to actually hire them the legit way. That means that you'd have to treat them like actual employees and you'd have to pay them and you couldn't fuck them whenever you wanted to. Although they probably would. I mean, sure, fucking porn industry, wild tales and shit, casting couch, all that other shit. But still, you couldn't have that power over them that and that's why he seems to enjoy having the power over the woman, that treating her like a fucking slave, essentially. You belong to me, making them get tattoos of themselves, all this other shit, right? Of him on their fucking bodies, all this other crap. That's what it is. It's a power dynamic. He enjoys having the power over somebody like that. That's what the real attraction is. That's what's really getting him off. He even said it right here in this interview. I don't care about sex. Well, why are you trying to do all this shit with beautiful women if you don't care about sex? It's about the power. Right. So no, he could be legit. That's the thing. It's he could just be legit. He could be Hugh Hefner. I guess Hugh Hefner had problems too. Hugh Hefner was a douchebag also. But you could be a legit guy that you could do, because sex work, I think, is real work. And there's nothing wrong, with porn, objectively, ethically, I think there's nothing wrong with porn as long as it's done the right way. As long as the rules are followed. Everybody's compensated. Nobody's forced to do anything. Everyone's of age. And, you're getting fucking STD tests and shit like that. As long as everything is on the up and level, right? And it's all consensual and all that shit. There's nothing wrong with porn at all. He could have just done it the right way. And his ass wouldn't be in prison. Right? He didn't do it like that. Because he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit child who enjoys fucking holding power over others. That's why. That's what he even said it himself. It's all about status. Well, what is status really about? Status is really about power, right? It's not good enough. This is why people like him crave status. According to what he's basically saying is okay, if he was, if he was Elon Musk, the second richest man in the world or whatever, right? Or who's the guy that runs Amazon, whatever the fuck his name is. I can't remember. But say it wouldn't be good enough to just be rich and run a company and be super powerful. He needs to have other people know that he's rich and super powerful. That's what the trappings of status symbols are about. Having the super awesome car. Well, why do you drive a Bugatti? Because you want people to know you're rich, right? Any sensible person would never buy a car like that, because they're it's just a car. It's a car is a car. Doesn't matter how fucking expensive it is. All it does is take you from one point to another. So if you're going to buy a nice car, you'd buy a Jaguar or you'd buy a BMW or something. Maybe you'd buy something super nice, but would you buy a fucking supercar? What are these Maserati fucking supercar thing that can go 300 miles an hour? Why? To drive down to the grocery store? No. So it could take you to the airport to your private jet and shit. Why would you buy? No, you buy a car like that because you want other people to know you're fucking rich, right? That's why. And that's what he basically explained to us when he talked about how it's all about status. He works out because he wants people to know that he could beat them up, right? He eats the fucking big time expensive steak because he wants the guy in the restaurant to know he's rich. Like, why do you give a fuck if, like, why do you care what people think of it, what kind of car you drive? Why do you care about if people think you can kick their ass or not? Like, why do you care, if the fucking, like, bellhop at a restaurant, at the not bellhop, but, waiter at a restaurant thinks you're fucking rich because you can buy the most expensive steak on the menu. It's the dumbest fucking shit. Why? Because you're insecure. It's like, it's the, it all makes sense once you realize that he's fucking super insecure. I don't know, man. Guy's a goddamn fucking and people eat this shit up, because they're all children. It's like the majority of his audience are fucking children. Like, anyway, here's the thing. Lusa Hedgehog. Here's the thing. Not even the best can do everything. That's true. That's true. There is no best person on Earth who can do everything. That's shit that you read in comic books. Superman is the strongest, the fastest, the smartest. He can fly. He's bulletproof. He can beat up anybody. He can lift a mountain. Right? That's the male power fantasy kind of things. If you're never the best, and that's something that we should all understand. You're never the best, even if you're like a super awesome piano player. Even if you get like the Guinness Book of World Record for being the best piano player on Earth. There's somebody out there who's better than you. And even if you do momentarily become the officially recognized best piano player on Earth, you will not be forever. Someone else is going to come along and take that title from you. And that's just how it works. And it's like, you should be confident with what you have and what you can do. Do it because you like it. Play piano because you like it. Draw because you like it. Be a woodworker. Make fucking tables and chairs and shit because you like it. Work out because you like it and you want to look good and you want to be healthy. Not because it's a status. Do you like nice cars? Some people really like super nice cars. Jay Leno is like a crazy ass car fanatic guy. Like, he has his own little show, that YouTube videos where he has all these weird ass cars, and he's super rich so he can afford it. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being in a super awesome cars if that's your thing. He doesn't drive these cars so that other people know he's rich. He drives them because he likes them. You know what I mean? Just like there's people who are not rich who are into cars too. People that buy those car kits, and like make their, it's like it'll be like a fucking fiberglass body and all this other shit. Most of the people that do that aren't super rich either. Why do they do it? Because it's their hobby. They like it. They do it, and they don't give a fuck if other people don't like the car they buy. It's like a very childish fucking thing to think that everything you do is about status. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit, man. Like, and it's like fucking something a fucking 12-year-old would think of. Like, seriously. Adversary Fend, and the fact that he feel threatened by a teen girl is hilarious. Yeah. That whole saga that he just got dunked on, and we went over the video last time. In our last video of him, his response to Greta Thunberg was the most pathetic shit ever. It was just like the whole facade of the top G facade just fucking crumbled away. Lose a Hedgehog his pride got the better of him for sure. Every 5 hours, actually, a lot of grown men seem to agree cheating is fine. Many married men have come onto me at work. Yeah, well, unfortunately, that is true. Something that we got to remember is that just because you're an adult doesn't mean you're mature. And, yeah, I've had women come on to me also at previous jobs. I'm married. And, women who were in relationships, I've had them come on to me before. It's just, that's the thing. It's it's your maturity level has nothing to do with your age. You know, I mean, mostly it's sort of tied to it, but there are plenty of people who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s who still act like teenagers. I mean, shit, we're looking at one right now. Fucking Andrew Tate still acts like he's a teenager. So, one thing I did notice though, that when I first got married, I did notice this big change because like a lot of people say shit like, oh, when you get married, things change immediately and it's a totally different world, and not really, but I did notice one thing that changed a lot. This was back when I was at my previous job. I worked in an office, and there were a lot of very attractive women in this office. I mean, I'm not even kidding. It was damn right. And one thing I noticed is that when a very, very attractive woman would ask me to do something and I wouldn't do it, they would get slightly flirty about it. And if I still didn't do it, they'd get very angry. You know what I mean? Like, they would get pissed that they weren't able to influence me like that anymore. And that was the thing that I didn't pick up on that when I was single. Like I didn't pick up on that. And then after I got married, and it was like, well, I don't care anymore because I'm married. So the chances of me and you actually doing anything are zero. So sorry. Right? And that was something I picked up, and I never realized before, like, how much, like, and it wasn't anything blatant. It wasn't like women coming up and shoving their tits in my face or something. It was just very subtle kind of flirting where it's like, hey, can you do this for me, pretty please? I'll love you forever, stuff like that. And stuff that, normally it would just be like, I don't have time or whatever. In the past, I would just like fall for it. And like, sure, that'll be my top priority. Thanks, And after that, like, after I got married, it was like, no, you have to wait in line like everybody else. And they would get fucking angry, like, and not like screaming and throwing shit angry, but like, I could tell they would like, you're on my shit list kind of angry. And it was like, oh, the flirting ain't working no more. Right? That was one thing that I noticed. That was a thing that after I got married, I realized, oh, there's a lot of manipulation when it comes to, and it was like the more attractive the woman was, the more they would do it, So I don't know if that makes me sound misogynist or whatever, but that was just my personal lived experience. Like, oh, really hot girls fucking use that shit. They use that shit to their advantage, and I never noticed it when I was single. I never noticed it because fucking I just fucking like fell for it. I guess, I don't know. Just an observation. It means nothing. Just an observation. I'm not trying to say anything about anybody. Let's see. Hiveside. My teen son is super based. Zoomers are better at this than we are. We were. Yes, it does seem that the general attitude for young people today mostly seems to be edging towards egalitarianism. But if you were to say that to me like 10 years ago, I would have agreed more. But now it seems like there's sort of a counter movement of conservatism among young people. There's definitely a counter movement, especially when it comes to sort of like anti-LGBTQ issues and anti-feminism, and it's sort of like an outgrowth of what happened with Gamergate and all of that shit. And like, for example, the popularity of these red pillar assholes among teenagers, it's extremely high, And not saying that they all love Andrew Tate, but a lot of his, he's got millions of fucking like subs and shit. Well, not subs, but like on TikTok, like fucking millions and millions of videos of him. People just reposting the shit over and over and over, and it's on a platform that children use, TikTok, and it's basically created this like fucking huge fan base of him, of millions of children, and it's very like So yeah, it's kind of disturbing how much like reach one person can get, you know. So I don't know. I mean, there is, conservatism is not something that is going to be, and when I say I mean like social conservatism, like traditional gender role, fucking Judeo-Christian conservatism. Like, it's not something that we're ever going to just evolve out of, you know. People keep saying that too. Oh, just one day all of these people will be dead. All of the bigots and the fucking racists and the misogynists. One day they'll just all die. They'll get old and die, and then it'll be gone. It's like, no, it's never gonna disappear like that. We'll never evolve out of it. You know, it's something that we're gonna have to contend with as a society forever, for the rest of time. It's never going to hit that point. Like, y'all imagine one day it's going to be like Star Trek, where everybody respects everybody and gender lines and color lines are completely erased and it's all according to your ability. No, that's never going to happen. Not with human beings. Not as long as there's people like Andrew Tate around. So, at least I don't think so. Let's see. Lewis the Hedgehog, also before you go, I want to thank you for bringing up the Archie comics in the previous stream. I was not expecting that, and it means a lot to me. Oh, sure. Yeah. No problem at all, man. We should make another stream about we should talk about comics in a stream one day, because comics are like a passion of mine, and I think they're like a net benefit. Like, I think they're good. Like, how like okay, here's the story, right? I used to know a guy who was maybe about 30 years older than me at my old job. He was like in his 60s at the time, so I was like in my mid-30s. And we were talking about pulp, pulp stories and magazines, things like Conan the Barbarian, or like John Carter of Mars, that sort of pulp adventure, Doc Samson kind of stuff, right? Because I really love that sort of whole genre, the pulpy sword and sorcery, John Carter on Mars, like Masters of the Universe kind of stuff. I really love that Conan. I love all that shit, right? And we were talking about this, and he said to me that, because he was like a kid in the 50s, and he was like, oh, I used to read these things, and my mother would take them and throw them away. And because they used to have little magazines, back then, right? Little like digest size magazines, like comics and weird tales and stuff like that. And and I was like, really? She would throw them away? Why? She's like, oh, because they were trash. And that's what they were considered trash back then. Like comics and adventure stories and stuff that we read now, and it's like classics, right? Like, if you've ever read Conan the Barbarian or Tarzan, that's another one. Tarzan, fucking, William Burroughs or whatever. Or who the fuck wrote Tarzan? It's the same guy that wrote, actually, it's the same dude who wrote Sherlock Holmes wrote Tarzan, right? I think. Anyway, actually, who wrote it? Was it? No. It was, the guy that wrote John Carter on Mars wrote Tarzan, right? Was it, who created Edgar Rice Burroughs? Yeah, same guy. He also created John Carter on Mars and a couple of other people. Stuff like that. Like that's considered like classic, almost literature nowadays. That sort of pulp adventure shit. Back then, it was considered trash. And same with like comic books. Comic books were considered garbage, and that's why so many comics from that era are rare and hard to find. Just first off, because it's been so long, and secondly, because people didn't treat them like they were anything. They would just toss them out, throw them away, because they were considered garbage. It was considered bad for your kids to read stuff like that, right? I take the complete opposite view. I think comics are great, and I think children should read them, because it's like basically just reading a book with more pictures. And comics nowadays are like geared towards adults, They definitely are. Like shit like Marvel, DC, like the mainstream superhero comics, kids don't... I don't even think a 12-year-old kid could follow the stories in one of those now, because they're they're more like, it's more like reading Game of Thrones. There's just not as much sex in them. You know what I mean? There's the plots are complicated and winding, and characters have motivations. It's some of the best stuff like ever, I think, comes out of, you know, things like Neil Gaiman and like you know, fucking Alan Moore, and you know, these are authors who are like, in my opinion, are on the same level as any classical literature. And you know, so it's not just all funny books. And maybe we ought to do some streams on comics, man, because I don't know, I love comics. And even stuff that, yeah, like we were saying before in the past, that has been traditionally marketed towards children, stuff like Scooby-Doo, Sonic the Hedgehog, Archie. All of those things are all geared towards adults now too. But anyway, getting to close to 1 o'clock. Thank you, Raph, Edgar Rice Burroughs, yeah. Robert E. Howard wrote Conan the Barbarian. Well, Robert E. Howard wrote Conan, yeah, but Tarzan is Edgar Rice Burroughs, right? Anyway, guys, I gotta get going here. Damn it, I had so much more video I wanted to go through. Like, we only got through half of the shit that I wanted to go through because there's one part here. Well, fuck it. You know what? We're gonna save it for next time. We're gonna do another stream. We're gonna do it on Wednesday, and this is gonna happen because now I have exactly what I'm gonna say. So Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. is going to be Andrew Tate is an Idiot Part 2. And that's what we're going to do. So, but before we get going here, I want to, you know, show you my social medias and stuff. You guys, oh, yeah, I guess my webcomic still ain't working. All right. So please, yeah, if you, you know, want to support the channel and all that, then come on. Why is my connection all slow? Thank you. I should actually make this a little bigger, shouldn't I? Okay, well, first let me open that. Let's open DeviantArt, and let's go to my other video channel, UCD Videos. Okay. So guys, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. If you want to support me, I have an Etsy shop here where I sell prints and things. These are prints that I make, Lovecraft related prints. This is something my mom made this, actually. She made this little Cthulhu sort of little doll guy. And we're thinking of making a bunch of these and selling them. So, yeah, you know, if you want to support, if you like me and you want to throw some cash my way, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop. I have a DeviantArt page down here if you want to see all the artwork we do. Here's our little witch guy that we worked on for the last month and a half. It's up here on DeviantArt. So if you want to check out my art, please check me out there. And I have another webcomic called UCD Video, or not a webcomic, but I have another channel called UCD Videos where I do toy unboxings and video games and crap like that. So please check me out there as well. Thank all you guys for coming. Thank you, Nshoma. Thank you, Hivesai. Great to see you. Thank you every 5 hours. Great to see you. Lewis the Hedgehog, great as always. Pony Throat, you are awesome. Thank you for joining too. Adversary Fandon. And everybody else, if I missed you, thank you guys all for joining. We'll be back here Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Andrew Tate is an Idiot Part 2. Thank you so much. Adios.